I'm Mirai, and this is my March wrap-up. So in March, I read 17 books, which is crazy. I feel like the number just keeps going up and up, and what is my life becoming? All I'm doing is reading books. But it was a fantastic reading month. I read not only so many books, but so many 5-star books. Like, I feel like I'm starting to go crazy. Like, I don't know if I'm giving books 5 stars too easily, or if it's just because I'm at, like, the beginning of my reading journey, and I just am reading, like, more popular books that kind of have a higher chance of me rating it 5 stars just because so many other people liked it. It's probably okay. I'm probably not just, like, a super easy rater. But is that a bad thing? Is it bad if I enjoy all the books I read immensely? I don't think so. So, gonna roll with it. Let's go through the books I read that I picked for my TBR for March. I did pretty good. I am going to finish all these books this month. There's one that I haven't quite finished yet. Just for funsies, we're gonna go through them with the prompts. So, book with girl in the title. For this, I read Gone Girl, of course. And this was, like, very good. Like, honestly, one of the best thrillers I've ever read. This was another 5-star read, you know, as usual. And, it's a domestic thriller. You know, we have this married couple, and on the outside, they look like they're perfect. They're doing well. The husband is, like, very much respected and loved in the community. But all of a sudden, one day, his wife goes missing, and, everybody kind of suspects him. I mean, it's kind of a natural guess. Like, of course the husband did it. Like, who else? A story of, did the husband kill his wife? And if not, who did? And of course there's a movie, so, like, if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what happens. But the book is always better, you know? It was very good. I highly recommend it. Next, for our, TBR prompts, pick my TBR, we read a historical fiction. For this one, I picked The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I didn't realize this was historical fiction. It makes sense because we're following this girl who, like, lives forever, basically, and so you follow her from, like, the 1600s when she first gets her immortality through, like, 2014. Well, it's like a span of 300 years. Maybe it was, like, late 1600s. Oh, 1700s. So 1700 to 2014, you follow her, and, you kind of watch her experience all the history that happens throughout those 3 centuries. The premise of this book is that this girl, Addie LaRue, makes a deal with the devil or the darkness to, I guess, live forever and, like, travel the world. Like, she wants time to experience as much as she can experience, and to be rid of, like, the obligations of her small town where she's, like, about to be forced into a marriage that she doesn't want. He makes her invisible, which essentially, she's not, like, literally invisible. Everyone she meets instantly forgets her, like, when they turn away or, like, they leave the room. You watch her go through this life where nobody knows her name or nobody remembers her, and, her trying to leave her mark. And it was very good. I don't know, did I say my rating? It was, like, 5 stars, 6 stars. Every single page, like, from the very beginning to the very end, it was, like, 5-star material for me. I really liked it. It's going on my reread list for sure. For sure. So good. So good. Highly recommend it. Next, for my TBR prompts, we have a book set almost entirely outdoors. I picked The Fury. Essentially, this is, like, the classic murder mystery. Everyone's invited to an island and someone dies, and it's, like a whodunit kind of situation. This is also another book where, like, the narration is more unique. It's this guy telling the story of this murder mystery after the fact, and he's like, I'm trying to be impartial, but at the same time he's being, like, very partial and inserting his own opinions, and he, like, acknowledges that, like, in the narration, which is a little odd, but, like, it's interesting. It's good. And, like, parts of this I did happen to guess just because when I was reading, I was like, oh, you know, like, with this narration, it'd be really interesting, like, if this happened. And then that happened. And I was like, oh, I didn't mean to guess that. But overall, I gave this 3 stars just because it was good. It was really good, but I just, like, wasn't attached. And there's just, like, something about it that I just wasn't fully feeling it. But it was really good. I do think it's, like, kind of unique. It just, like, the narration style kind of helps play into the fact that you're not, like, fully immersed in the story, in a sense, if that makes sense. But it was very good. I did enjoy it. I do recommend it. I just probably wouldn't reread it, you know. A book with a color in the title. For this, we read Yellowface. If you don't know, Yellowface is about this white author whose kind of best friend dies, like, while they're hanging out in her apartment. And, like, her best friend who dies is Asian. And our main character, the white author, decides to steal her last manuscript and, like, kind of make it into her own. But, like, really she's just rewording a few things here and there and kind of just, like, taking this story about Chinese laborers and making it, like, racist, you know? Because she doesn't care about the story. She's just trying to make it good and, like, appealing to the masses instead of, like, an accurate story, if that makes sense. Yeah, she's racist. A lot of, like, racism in this, and a lot of, like, insight into, like, the publishing process, and, you know, kind of, like, little sprinklings of things that have happened in, like, the book world, which is fun to read. I ended up giving this 4.25 stars. Like, it was good, and I appreciate the insight into publishing, and I thought it was like a good, complex story about this woman doing, like, not great things. And the ending was kind of funny. It was, like, very shocking and very funny. Funny in, like, a that's not funny way. Anyways, yeah, this was good. I recommend it. Wasn't, like, my absolute favorite, but I did really like it. Okay, my last one was an AI recommendation. I don't have it. Give me a second. My last one was an AI recommendation. And for this, of course, they pick, like, classics that have been around forever. And it picked Lord of the Rings, so I read, you know, The Hobbit, naturally. I mean, it counts. It's the prequel. Oh, and when I say I read it, I mean, like, I'm halfway through it, but I will finish it before this video goes up. And so I might put, like, a little rating here. But, I mean, I'm definitely giving it either a 4 or a 5 star. Like, does it really matter what I rate it? Like, you should read it. And you should watch the movies, because they're really good. If you don't know, The Hobbit is about a hobbit who goes on a great adventure, which is not normal for hobbits. They are quiet people. They like their everyday life at home and stay very far away from adventure. But this hobbit, Bilbo Baggins, goes on a life-altering adventure to steal from a dragon, Smaug. Because, you know, dragons have their mounds of treasure, and they go to steal from him. And along the way, he happens to find a ring. You know. You know how the story goes. Yeah, I haven't finished it, but it's Saturday morning right now, and I think I will finish it today. I'm halfway done. It's only 250 pages, super short. The first book I read was, in fact, a 5-star read. It was When You Were Everything. I read this for this video ends when I find a 5-star read. And it's kind of funny because the next book I also rated 5 stars, and I also had it in that video because I finished them at, like, the same time. When You Were Everything is essentially a story about friendship. It's a story about these two best friends who, through life, grow apart. I mean, it's, like, within the span of a year. Her best friend ends up, you know, getting more in with the popular crowd, and the main character we're following also doesn't do the best things to, you know, keep the friendship. And really on both sides, they're both kind of, like, not great people. A story about friendship and, you know, young people who don't make the best decisions. and don't know how to express themselves and communicate to maintain these relationships. And then also, you know, kind of a story of moving on and finding new friends and new relationships, etc. I mean, if you're looking for a book about friendship and not like found family, this is the go-to book, I feel like. It was very well done. Very much so captures like that relationship dynamic of friends falling together and falling apart. I would highly recommend it. Oh, another funny thing is, okay, so the next book I read was If We Were Villains, and which is obviously, I mean, if you know anything about If We Were Villains, it's about these like kids who go to this like Shakespeare college, and basically all they do is perform Shakespeare plays and talk in like Shakespearean language. So a lot of Shakespeare quotes in there. And then it was also funny because I was reading that at the same time as When You Were Everything, and that also has like a surprising amount of Shakespeare quotes compared to like the other books I read, you know. I mean, it's maybe like only a handful, but it's like our main character and her dad just like quoting Shakespeare. And the fact that I happened to read two books at the same time which had like Shakespeare quotes in it was just surprising to me. If We Were Villains is kind of like a murder mystery thing, and I guess found family, because you follow this like group of like 6-7 friends who, you know, they're very close, are kind of like crazy people with like very complex relationships, and like maybe not the best people, if we're being honest. I mean, one of them gets murdered. I don't think I knew at all like who did it until like we got to the end, and it was kind of like leading that way. It was very good. I really enjoyed it. I really liked the ending. It kind of ends on a bit of a, you know, like interpret this how you will kind of situation. Next, I listened to Daisy Jones on Audible. The best way to consume this book, I mean, it's essentially like a giant interview of the members of this fictional band. Sometimes it's hard to remember that Daisy Jones and the Six is fictional, just because like the way it's written, it like sounds like she's interviewing members of a real band. I hope I'm not the only one who feels that way. I don't think I am. This was definitely 5-star quality. It didn't quite hit there for me. I gave it 4.25 stars overall, but it was very good. Next, I read Romantic Comedy on the Kindle. This is, you guessed it, a romantic comedy. Overall, I gave it 3 stars. I really liked it's separated into 3 parts. I really liked the first part. It was like the classic romantic comedy vibe. But then we had a gap of a few years, and then like the second part was like this weird like emailing back and forth, which I thought was kind of pointless. I mean, not completely pointless to the story, but I didn't really like it. It kind of went downhill there for me. And then the last part is like more in-person classic storytelling. That, like the second and third part are like during COVID, which I also just don't think was necessary for the plot. Like I heard that it had COVID in it before I started reading it. I just didn't realize how much it was about COVID. Like I don't want to read about COVID, I just want to read a story. And like the premise of the story is we follow this comedy writer. Like she writes for like kind of like SNL type skits. And there is this famous musician dude who like is a guest star for one of the episodes. Through working together on these skits, they meet and they have this little flirtationship going on. There was a bit of spice in this, but it was fairly closed door. Next, I listened to the Infinity Blade series by Brandon Sanderson. Both books were only like 4 hours long, so this was like super short. I mean, it's kind of like the book version of the game Infinity Blade, which I've never played that game, so I feel like maybe I wasn't the target audience, and I feel like I was probably missing some context. So if you play Infinity Blade, or if you have played it, then definitely read these books, because it's the book version of the game. What more do you want? And I also, even though I'd never played Infinity Blade and had no idea what it was, I still really enjoyed these. Like I gave the first book 5 stars because it was amazing, and I gave the second one 4 stars. It was like kind of like a time jump, maybe like a year time jump or something. Like a lot happened, I felt like, in between the first and the second book, and it took me a second to like catch up. And maybe if I played the game, I would have done better, but I did not. So essentially it's about this guy who's like the chosen sacrifice that is destined to challenge the king, the god king, to like a duel. And he's meant to die in that duel, but instead he kills the God King, and that changes things. Nobody expected that. The villagers who made him the sacrifice didn't expect that. The God King didn't expect that. And the dude who killed the God King didn't expect that. So, next we take a turn from high fantasy to spicy romance. And I read Mr. Wrong Number. I had to think for a second what book this was. I enjoyed this overall. I gave it 4 stars. A very fun adult romance. Yeah, essentially it's about, these two folks who the dude accidentally, it's a wrong number story. He texts someone and he thought he was texting his sister, but it was the wrong number. And she actually kind of likes him, so she goes along with it and just keeps texting him, and that's the story. It was very good. It was very cute. Nothing deep at all, but I enjoyed it. I'd recommend it if you like fun, spicy romances. Then I listened to A Touch of Darkness on Audible because it's free on Audible. I think it's also on Kindle Unlimited. It was very good. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would, actually. So this is like a Hades x Persephone retelling, and I thought it was done very well. I am very excited to read the rest of the series. Persephone is a goddess, of course, and nobody knows that she exists. The other gods don't know she exists, humans don't know she exists, and so she kind of lives life as a normal-ish college girl, or that's what she's trying to do, and she convinced her mom to let her do that. And Persephone also, not only does nobody know she exists, but she doesn't really have any powers like the other gods do, since she, isn't fulfilled in her magical god aspect of her life. She's trying to be fulfilled in her human life by being a journalist and being successful. And she's supposed to stay very far away from other gods, especially Hades and Hades nightclubs. But our story starts with her going to one of his nightclubs and meeting Hades, and they develop a little bit of a romance situation. He also curses her. She has to, create life in the underworld, which everything she touches dies, so that makes things very difficult. But it was really good. I recommend it, especially if you like, Greek mythology and Greek mythology retellings. Next, I listened to A Murder to Remember. This was, one of the classic light romances that I listened to on Audible. Palate cleanser, if you will. I gave it 3 stars overall, which was very typical of these romances I listened to on Audible. But I did really like it. It was really good. I just not very memorable, not very invested in the story, But essentially it's about this girl who goes on vacation, goes on this Jane Austen tour. She meets this dude who's very similar to Mr. Darcy, I guess. Well, not he's not similar, but he's dressed all timely like Mr. Darcy, and they develop a little bit of a romance during that first night that they spend together, which it is supposed to be just that one night. They get very drunk and they wake up and slowly remember what happened that night, and they both remember seeing a body being carried away in a carpet, and they're they witnessed a murder, and they tell the police, but they have no good details to say because everything they say kind of just sounds like they were on drugs. And then it's the whole story is them solving this murder mystery. Classic light romance, but with murder. Next, I read Check and Mate. This is my first Allie Hazelwood book, and it's her first YA romance, so I definitely want to read her other books because, oh my goodness, this was amazing. I gave it 5 stars overall, which I was not expecting. I was thinking it would be 4 stars when I started it, but it kind of quickly became a 5-star read for me. And I normally don't rate romances 5 stars, so that was also why it was so surprising. But it was so good. It was really good. If you can't tell, I annotated it quite a bit. Yeah, if you don't know, this is about a girl here, Mallory, who is kind of like a chess prodigy. She grew up playing chess, and then something horrible happened involving her dad, and she like swore to never play chess again, basically. And all of a sudden she is like convinced to compete in this chess competition. It's like a fundraiser, and she plays against like the number one chess player in the world, Nolan. He's like, who is this girl, you know? And then that starts her own chess journey. And I mean, there is a lot about chess in here, but it's not like overwhelming. Like, you don't need to know about chess to read this and enjoy it, which I was a little worried about. But like, I think if you do know chess, then the story will just be like that much better for you. It was very good. I highly recommend it. Very cute romance. Next, I listened to Still Hung Up on You, which is a very short audiobook romance. I gave it 3 stars just because I enjoyed it, but like, what even was it? Like, I barely remember it. It was honestly probably like an hour of my life, because I think I listened to it on like almost 2 times speed. And essentially it's about like these like high school sweethearts who, you know, broke up, and then like 10 years later they reconnect, and because she's like looking for the sweater that she lost when they were dating. That starts this like phone call conversation. I've listened to a lot of these books where like they talk over the phone, and then it ends with them like meeting in person and like being happy and like in love. And that's what happened. So now you know the whole story, and you basically don't need to listen to it. Next, I listened to Skyward, which was like free on Audible, which is amazing because it's a Brandon Sanderson book. Like, a lot of Brandon Sanderson books like suddenly became free on Audible, which I love because I love Brandon Sanderson. And I have some books over there, the Stormlight Archive, which I should really read because I've absolutely loved everything I've read of Brandon Sanderson, but they're each like 1,000 pages and I'm scared, so I haven't read them yet. But anyways, Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. Essentially, it's about this society. It's like set far in the future, I guess, and these folks live on a planet that is constantly invaded by these like alien ships. Like, to protect their planet, they have these pilots who defend their society. Being a pilot is the most like well-respected position in the society. Like, if you're a pilot, you're just instantly loved by everyone, and they just instantly respect. And our girl, Spin, that's her call sign. Her father was a pilot, but he deserted during like one of the most important battles, and so she's known as the daughter of a coward. And so there's like a lot of obstacles in her way from becoming a pilot. Like, they don't want her to be a pilot because they think she's going to be just like her father and be a coward and like abandon everyone at the like most critical moment. So it was a great book. I gave it 4.5 stars overall. I rated it 5 stars on Goodreads. It was kind of like fluctuating between 4.5 and 5, but. And then the last book I listened to was Conversations with Friends. I don't know how I feel about this book. I gave it 3 stars overall. I do think listening to it as an audiobook was the right choice. It's a story of like marriage infidelity, and you follow these 2 college girls. They're like 21, and they used to have a relationship, but now they're just very close friends. They become friends with this married couple in the 30s, and the married couple like hasn't been having a very good relationship recently, and one of the main character we follow, who's 21, ends up having this affair with the husband. In one sense, it was like, oh yeah, you know, root for this romance that we're following. But the other sense is like, but they're having an affair, and they're like keeping secrets from everyone. And then when they actually like do start like sleeping together, it's kind of like, I'm actually not really into you guys as a couple. You're kind of weird and you don't communicate well. And like, our main character is like very bad at communicating. Like, she just pretends to be okay, and like she puts on a front to make it seem like she's like confident and like not affected by anything, which isn't true at all. I feel like there wasn't like a strong ending either. I was just very confused on how I felt. Anyways, that was the last book I read. That was 3 stars overall. Most of the books I read this month were either 3 stars or 5 stars, and then like sprinklings of 4 stars in between. Overall, I think it was a fantastic month. I read a lot of books, and a high percentage of those were 5-star reads, which is incredible. I love it when that happens. What books did you guys read in March? What 5-star reads did you find? I hope you found some. Did you like the books I read? Did you hate the books I liked? Let me know, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.